Hello students, and welcome to our next video on factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. That was our last video, but in the last video, our a term, this coefficient of the x squared, was always equal to 1. In this video, we're going to complicate matters a little bit and say that our a is not going to be 1. So you can see right here in this first example, we're factoring 7x squared plus 9x plus 2. And the a value right here is a 7, so it's not 1. The great news is we do it the exact same way we factored when a was 1. It just becomes maybe a little more complicated in the fact that the numbers might get a little bit bigger because when we multiply the a times the c, this is no longer a 1. So the good news is we've done this very similar process before. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 7 and we're going to multiply it times 2. And 7 times 2, we're going to write down right here is 14. Now, we take the middle, 9, slide it on down. So we are looking for two numbers that multiply to give us 14, but add to give us 9. So let's think about this here. Thinking 7 times 2. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 plus 2 is 9. And more than that, 7x plus 2x is 9x. So in my grouping, when I go to rewrite 9x, I'm going to write it as 7x plus 2x. So coming on down, I'm going to write my trinomial as a polynomial of 4 terms. I'm going to have 7x squared, here I go, plus 7x plus 2x plus 2. So again, I rewrote this 9x as 7x plus 2x. So I haven't really changed the problem, just the way it looks. Now I'm going to group. So I'm going to put my first two terms in a quantity, 7x squared plus 7x. And I'm going to bring down that plus sign. I'm going to put my second two terms in a quantity. And now I'm going to factor by grouping. I'm going to factor out a GCF here. So the GCF of 7x squared and 7x is going to be 7x. Again, that was learned in a previous lesson, how to factor by a GCF. Now I divide each of these terms by 7x. So 7x squared divided by 7x is just x. And 7x divided by itself is just 1. Bring down the plus sign. And here my GCF is going to be a 2. 2x divided by 2 is just x. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And now you can see we have this common x plus 1 in both of these terms. So my final answer is going to be x plus 1. And now my leftovers, 7x and a positive 2. This is the factorization of that original trinomial. Now we can always check it. You know this. We can always check it by multiplication. So let's run a quick check like we always do. We'll take x times 7x, which is 7x squared. Then we will take x times 2, positive 2x. 1 times 7x, 7x. 1 times 2, 2. Combine likes, we're right back at 7x squared plus 9x plus 2. That's a good check because this answer matches my original problem. And that's all there is to it. See how similar it is to our last lesson when a was equal to 1. Okay, let's go to our next example. Oh boy, we got a lot of minuses here. So we're going to factor 5x squared minus 8x minus 4. Okay, so we're going to multiply the 5 times the negative 4. And you do want to multiply by, keep the sign true to the number, negative 4. 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. And I'm going to bring the middle right underneath it, which is -8. So I am looking for two numbers whose product is negative 20, but whose sum is negative 8. So you might want to pause the video here. This is one of those times where you just want to stop and think. Let's think of factors of 20. Let's see, 20 and 1. Well, a 20 and a 1 aren't going to ever add to an 8 or a negative 8. Let's see, 5 times 4. 5 times 4 makes 20, but a 5 and a 4, no, they're not going to make any sort of 8. 10 and 2. 10 and 2. Can 10 and 2 make an 8? I think we can. So let's pop a 10 and a 2 here, and then we'll play with the signs. So in order for a 10 and a 2, when you add them together to sum up to a negative 8, the 10 would have to be negative. Now, these have to match, these two have to match these two, so that would force him to be a negative 10. Negative 10 times 2 is negative 20. So this scenario right here makes both statements true. Okay, so I'm going to pop some X's on here so that I know that I'm going to rewrite this negative 8x as a negative 10x plus a 2x. So this is what I've got. 5x squared minus 10x plus 2x minus 4. So I just wrote this negative 8x as negative 10x and positive 2x, which of course does make negative 8x. And now I group. So my first two terms go right into parentheses, 5x squared minus 10x plus 2x minus 4. Okay. Now we do GCF. So the GCF here in the first quantity is going to be a 5x. 5x squared divided by 5x is just x. 10x divided by 5x is 2. Plus GCF here, 2. 2x divided by 2, x. 4 divided by 2, 2. Okay, there's our commonality. X minus 2, bring it on down. Leftovers from this term, we're left with a 5x. And from this term, a positive 2. That should be my answer, but we'll check it just to be safe. On the check, here we go. X times 5x, 5x squared. X times 2, positive 2x. Negative 2 times 5x, negative 10x. Negative 2 times 2, negative 4. Combine the like terms, we've got 5x squared minus 8x minus 4. That's a good check because it matches our original trinomial exactly. Very nice. Okay. The only other thing, I'm going to pause here for a second. I just thought of something. With this problem, and I brought this up in the last video too, but I want to make it really clear. Let me see if this bled through the back. It kind of did. Let me grab another piece of paper. Hold tight for just a second. I'm going to grab another sheet of paper. I don't want you to forget what happens when this, not this sign, okay? It's this sign. The second, let me say this, the sign in between the second and third terms, when that's a negative. So let's just say, let me just redo this a second. Same exact problem. So let me recopy, bring this down here. 5x squared minus 8x minus 4, okay? So what we had done was we multiplied the 5 times the negative 4, and that was negative 20, and then we brought down the negative 8. Suppose we had switched the order of our numbers. Suppose instead of putting the 10 first, we had put the 2 first, and then the 10, like this. And then we would have made the 10 negative, like so. When we went to rewrite this trinomial, it would have looked like this. 5x squared plus 2x minus 10x minus 4, because these would have been, of course, my x's, right? Now, when the sign right here in between the second and third term is a minus, do you remember from the last video when we group what we have to do with him? Hopefully you're remembering that we have to change this to the opposite of what it currently is. So it would look like this. The front would be fine, 5x squared plus 2x. Bring down the minus, but when you group the second half, you have to change this final sign to the opposite. And the reason for that is when you redistribute this negative back to this quantity, you want to get back to here. So negative times positive is negative 10x. Negative times positive is negative 4. So just be aware of that. And then the answer comes out the same, because when you GCF this, here your GCF is an x, and you're left with 5x plus 2. Here your GCF is 2, and you're left with 5x plus 2. Your common term is the 5x plus 2. And your leftovers are the x minus 2. And if you look at that versus what I got on the last one right here, it's the same answer. See, they're just reversed, the order. But I just want you to really look out for that. That is one thing in grouping. When that symbol between the second and third terms is negative, meaning the symbol between the two quantities is negative, this final sign has got to change to the opposite of what it originally was. Awesome. Okay, I'm glad I mentioned that again. Okay, and the last one here for this video, example 3, we're back to pluses. Factor 10x squared plus 19x plus 6. So, I'm going to go through it again. We're going to take that 10 times that 6. That's 60. And slide the 19 underneath. So I need two numbers that multiply to 60 but add to 19. A little bit harder. If you want to pause the video and check it out, you can definitely do that. If you're working alongside me, you know, 60. Originally I think, oh, 10 times 6, but a 10 plus a 6 is not going to make a 19. Then maybe I think 20 times 3, but 20 and 3 aren't going to add up to a 19, even if I tweak the signs. What turns out happening is it ends up being 15 times 4. 15 times 4 is equal to 60, and lo and behold, 15 plus 4 is 19. So I add those x's on there so that I can rewrite 19x as the sum of 15x and 4x. So 10x squared plus 15x plus 4x plus 6 is my new problem to group. So I will go ahead and group up the front two terms. Bring down the plus. See, I'm okay because that's a plus. Group up the second two terms. No need to change that sign because this is a plus. And now I find the GCF. So my GCF here is going to be a 5x. I'll be left with 2x plus 3. And here my GCF is a 2. And I will also be left with 2x plus 3. And so, common term, 2x plus 3. Leftovers, 5x plus 2. Final answer. I won't go through the check just so I don't lengthen this video, but if you check it by distributing and multiplying, you're going to get back to purple. All right, thanks for watching. Hope that made sense. Have a great day.